February 1964, Geneva, Switzerland. For 1,277 days, a man who had voluntarily surrendered himself to the United States government was held in a windowless concrete cell, subjected to sleep deprivation and near starvation, by the agency he had defected to. Yuri Ivanovich Nosenko was 32 years old when he walked across. He was a KGB officer of some seniority, and he came with an offering. He told his CIA handlers that he had personally reviewed the KGB file on Lee Harvey Oswald during Oswald's residency in the Soviet Union. He said the KGB had considered Oswald and dismissed him. Unstable, not worth running. He said Moscow had nothing to do with what happened in Dallas 3 months earlier. This was, in terms of timing, an extraordinary claim. President Kennedy had been dead for 90 days. The Warren Commission was assembling its record. The question of Soviet involvement had not been settled. A KGB officer arriving with direct knowledge of Oswald's file was by any measure significant. The CIA processed his defection through standard channels. His case was assigned to the Soviet Russia division. His handlers began debriefing him. He was given a stipend and temporary housing. The machinery of resettlement moved forward in an orderly way. James Jesus Angleton ran CIA counterintelligence from 1954 to 1974. He was known for his orchids, his poetry, and his certainty that the KGB had penetrated Western intelligence at its highest levels. His framework for evaluating defectors was shaped by the claims of Anatoly Golitsyn, a Soviet defector who had arrived in 1961. Golitsyn had warned that the KGB would send false defectors to discredit genuine ones. When Nosenko arrived, Angleton applied this framework. He concluded that Nosenko was dispatched, that the timing was not coincidental, that the message, the KGB had nothing to do with Oswald, was precisely what Moscow would want the Warren Commission to hear. Angleton ordered Nosenko held. In April of 1964, Nosenko was moved to a CIA facility in Maryland. A cell was constructed for him, concrete walls, no windows, a cot, a bucket, a single overhead light that did not dim. The temperature was kept low. His reading materials were rationed, then removed. His caloric intake was reduced below maintenance levels. He grew thin. His teeth deteriorated. The KUBARK Counterintelligence Interrogation Manual, produced by the CIA in 1963, described the purpose of such conditions with clinical precision: to induce regression, to strip the subject of the psychological resources needed to maintain a fabricated identity. The sessions continued. No recantation came. In 1965, Nosenko was transferred to Camp Peary, Virginia. A new cell had been built. The conditions did not improve. He remained in solitary confinement. His interrogators rotated. The questions returned to the same territory: Oswald, the KGB file, the timing of his defection. He did not change his account. By 1967, he had been held for 3 years. The formal justification was that his bona fides had not been established. The legal basis for his detention was never publicly articulated. He had committed no crime. He had been charged with nothing. In 1968, a CIA analyst named Bruce Soley was assigned to conduct a formal review of the Nosenko case. Soley examined the full record, the transcripts, the polygraph results, the biographical details Nosenko had provided, the operational intelligence he had offered. He compared Nosenko's claims against what could be verified through independent means. His conclusion was submitted in 1969. Nosenko was genuine. He was not a dispatched agent. His account of the Oswald file was consistent with what the CIA could confirm about KGB procedure. The review found no evidence of fabrication. The contradiction that resists resolution is this: if Nosenko was genuine, then the CIA held an innocent man, a man who had trusted them, in a concrete box for over 3 years. They reduced his food. They kept a light burning in his eyes through the night. They did this without charge, without legal authority, and without producing any intelligence value. If Angleton was wrong, then the apparatus of psychological destruction was deployed not against an enemy, but against an asset. The institution did not publicly account for this. The second contradiction concerns Angleton himself. He was removed from his position in 1974 in part because of the damage his mole hunt had done to CIA operations. Dozens of legitimate Soviet assets had been dismissed or worse because Angleton's framework could not accommodate them. Nosenko was one, but Angleton never conceded the point. He testified before the Senate in 1975. He maintained his position. The formal review that had exonerated Nosenko did not, in Angleton's accounting, settle the matter. He died in 1987, still holding his conclusion. Nosenko was paid a financial settlement. The amount was not disclosed. He was granted United States citizenship. He worked as a CIA consultant, advising on Soviet operations for decades. He gave occasional interviews. He spoke without apparent bitterness about what had happened to him. He died in 2008. He was 76 years old. The CIA reviewed its own conduct and concluded it had been wrong. It paid the man it had imprisoned and put him back to work. The records from his confinement, the interrogation transcripts, the internal communications about his cell, the caloric logs, remain classified. No one was charged. No one was formally disciplined. The question that remains is not whether Nosenko was genuine. The question is what it means that the answer to that question did not change what happened to him, and that the institution, which held him in a box, ultimately decided the best resolution was to hand him a paycheck and a consultant's badge, and ask him to come back to work.